from Ballerinas by Night. Today is our next installment of the Well-Trained Dancer series with our focus on tendus. Tendus are extremely important because they are the foundation for the next two things we do at barre, dégagé and rond-de-jambe, as well as a progression to a whole lot of other things in ballet as a whole. So we definitely want our tendus to be extremely precise, and we want to really start utilizing our feet. It's very easy, I think, to go through the motions on tendus and not really use our feet to the maximum, and then unfortunately you just miss out on a whole lot of good strengthening that tendus can give you. Kind of like pliés. When I was talking about pliés, you can just bend your knee, or you can really be utilizing all those muscles right from the beginning. Tendus can be done from first position or fifth position. I'm going to start with first. If I have enough time for a really long class, I prefer to give a tendu from first position that's really slow and a tendu from fifth that's a little quicker. So if we're going from first, we have our really nice preparation, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if we're going to the front, we always want to think about initiating from the heel. So the heel really leads, and then we go to almost a demi, and then we extend the toes. And the heel should be really hidden to the front. So you want that foot really turned out, heel forward. And then to come back in, we want to initiate the toes. We bring the toes back, and then we bring the whole foot in. Now, in tendu, we always kind of want to think, okay, we're going to the front. It's like we're going through a little bitty fourth, and then demi and out, demi, little bitty fourth and back. So that's really important. Again, that's how we're using the floor. If you don't think about keeping the heel engaged into the floor that little bit of time, then you get to this thing where you're just kind of taking the foot out, taking the foot in, and you're not really working the muscles as well. Pushing into the floor through a little bitty fourth, then again, this is another place where you can really have this nice use of the foot, and you can really start working your arch, and then working the toes. And this action of the toes is also really important because that's where we're going to get our strength for our jumps later. If you're on point, that's the strength to come down through point. And I found that teaching people to control from point to demi is a hugely important thing. If they don't have that strength, it's a lot harder to control any of your descent from point to flat. So coming out of turns or anything else becomes a lot more difficult. To the side, it's the same type of thing. We want to think about going through a little bitty second, really extending that arch, working through those toes. So again, this is a really great exercise if you just want to work to strengthen your feet. But you really have to push and push. So second and out and push, bring it back in. And again, you want that very consistent pathway of the foot. Pushing out, coming through the same path back. Another thing I really want to emphasize to the side, if you are using your correct amount of turnout. So the correct amount of turnout is if you're here, you lift the heels, you bring them in, wherever it comes without then trying to wiggle into it. This is your turnout, and it might not look like you think it should if you're thinking 180 degrees, but unless we naturally have 180 degree turnout, we should not be working at that. We should be working from the top of the legs. So to use our control zone means that when we take this tendu side, toe should be across from toe and the heel should be forward. So you can't just do toe across from toe but then have the heel back. Toe across from toe and heel in line with the toe. Basically wherever you tendu out, toe across from toe, heel forward, because the heel forward makes you turn out from the top of the leg. Another thing to try and think about from tendus is we're trying to disconnect the leg from the hip. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to take the hip with us, or the hip with us, or the hip with us. The hip stays right where it is, and the leg works independently from it. because that's a ball and socket joint. It should be able to move however we want it, but we don't have to take it with us. And the more you work where you're taking the hip with you, it's going to make everything harder. When you go to dégagé, it's going to go with you. When you try to développé, it's going to be really hard to disconnect that leg from the hip and then really be using the muscles from underneath to lift the leg, which if you can find those muscles, then it's going to make things a lot easier, because using less flexibility and more strength, you're going to be able to get a higher leg. So you don't have to be super flexible to extend to here. I mean, that's not even anywhere close to a split. And it's not to say you don't have to be flexible to have good extension, but I think you don't have to have nearly as much flexibility as people try and get to achieve an even greater degree of extension if you're using the correct muscles and they're strong enough to get it there and hold it. You can see very flexible people who, if they're not using the correct muscles, they développé and can't hold the leg very high. Because if you're using the top of the leg and taking the hip with you, it's harder. All that to say, start working now in Tendu. Take this hip back to the front, disconnect it to the side. Then to the back, you want to think really long. So the hips are still nice and lifted and long. When I'm going to the back, I always like to think about connecting the opposite shoulder to that leg so that it's automatically, it both helps you turn that leg out and get it behind you. It can be really hard to feel a Tendu, like, is it behind me? And sometimes it's easy to go kind of out here or to cross too far over. But if you think, I'm connecting my shoulder to that leg, there's an invisible string, then as you take that foot out, it just helps you keep it in more of a correct position. So you still have to check in the mirror sometimes, but that helps. So to the back, unlike the front, to the front we're really thinking heel lead. To the back, we want to think toes lead, because if I think heel lead, this is what happens. So we're thinking lifting the hips, toes back, and again you're going through like a little bitty four, and through demi, and out, toes, and then as you come in, you're thinking heel in. Because again, you don't want to think toes in and then do that. So toes out, heel in. Control zone, turning out from the hip. Heel, toes back. If there's one thing I'm always shouting at my classes when I'm teaching, it's to the front I'm going heel lead, toes back. And to the back I'm going toes lead, heel in. Just to try and always be thinking about that action, out and back. Now in addition, we really want to watch our supporting side and make sure that to the front you want to think about a little bit of opposition of this shoulder connecting to that leg. So you're keeping forward and you're not sitting back. To the side, you just want to think about this side lifting up. And I've talked before about the hip. You almost want to think about going a little out in front. Again, connecting. To the side, you almost want to think about everything being a little bit more in front of you. Sometimes this is where we can get too open and we're thinking too much flat side, and then that makes us open the rib cage and take everything back instead of thinking in almost like a V in front of you and everything pulled together. Again, abdominals always have to be lifted. We don't want to be standing like this. Abdominals lift up and over. Abdominals up and over, a little bit in front of me. Connect that shoulder, up and over. This side lifting up. So again, from fifth, all of that stuff should be relatively similar. You're still going to be going through a little bitty fourth, and out, and back. Now this isn't a fourth where you go change the weight, because you don't want to go change the weight and up, change the weight and back. Nothing moves except the leg, disconnected from the hip. So we're stable, we're really lifted, we're using the back of the leg on the supporting side, abdominals engaged, and we take the heel through a little bitty fourth and out and back. Now when we're going to the side from fifth, this is where we almost want to think like we're going through first and out and first and back. That's really important because it's easy, again, to just kind of be like, oh, there we are, there's some weird pathway, and you're going to use all of these muscles at the top of the leg a lot more efficiently if you're thinking first and out, first and out, first and in. It really makes everything very held. A good exercise, if you want to work on inner thighs, the backs of the legs, is just to go first and fifth and first and fifth, and then get faster, faster and faster. And it just helps you feel that. I mean, you have to do it a bunch of times, and it'll really start to burn, which is good because when the muscles start burning, that means we feel the muscles we need to work. So our arms, usually if I'm teaching a combination from first, we take 5, 6, 7, 8, and we just keep the arms in second. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6. And if my eyes are front and back, I take eyes to the palm. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we're working from fifth, and sometimes these are the arms that a teacher might want, even if you're working from first, that's just my personal preference. You'll go 5, 6, 7, 8. And front, and 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. When we're here, the head, the eyes are out. Second, they're here. Now sometimes if somebody has been working with the French school, you won't just keep eyes front. You'll actually take eyes to what would be the front leg and close, and front and close. And that is really mimicking when we get to the center and we start working 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, or back, 6, 7, 8. Just means if you were at the bar, if you were on stage, the bar would be like this and the audience would be there. So you're taking eyes to your audience. So it's nice to be aware of if that's the épaulement the teacher wants. That's why you want to think about the audience being in front of you. Here, you can just keep it nice and straight too, and then to the back, you can take eyes to the palm. Not every teacher may want that either. That can differ a little bit, but that's what I was taught. So it helps you get your rib cage a little bit up and forward. Again, you don't want to be back. And I like to really feel my whole supporting side lift up and forward. So I'm nicely placed there. And then we lift it up to the side. Supporting side really lifted. So that's a lot to think about for tendus. I think those are the main things. Remember, working through the floor. You really have to think about using the floor. The floor is an actual component of the tendu. It's not just there. You're pushing into the floor and pushing the floor away. And you always want to think about the leg going far away from you. Lengthening. You want to lengthen through the knee. There should be no bent knees in tendus ever. The knees stay straight. I mean, unless you're taking a tendu plie, but that's a different animal. If it's just a straight tendu, no bent knees. And again, you have to really watch sometimes that as you close, one of the knees might want to bend a little. And if that's happening, if you're getting that correction, if the teacher's saying your knee is bending on your way in, you want to think about lifting the supporting side. And what you can even do is lift off the supporting heel a little to get higher in the body. Most of the teachers I have seen would prefer that you lift off the heel rather than bend the knee. If they say something about not liking it, then of course always do what they say. But even if you're not actually lifting the heel, you still can think high on that supporting side to make sure those knees stay straight. I hope this has helped you. Remember, when it comes to being a well-trained dancer, the two main things we want to remember are consistency and accuracy. So get those tendus to the same place each time. Try and work the foot the same way each time. Each position, this is setting you up for the next two combinations, which I will cover shortly. Bye!